Hello MotoGP
fans.
fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Yamaha's switch to a V4 engine has proven tougher than expected, with the factory struggling for pace and consistency in the opening rounds of 2026. Team boss Massimo Meregalli admits the development path has been bumpier than anticipated, leaving Yamaha well off the early season pace and forcing a longer, more uncertain recovery than the squad hoped. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu is navigating a steep learning curve in his first MotoGP season. Fresh from Superbike success, he's confronting the V4 Yamaha's limitations and the sheer depth of the premier class. His first points in Texas were a milestone, but the gap to the leaders underlined how different MotoGP is from WorldSBK, and how much adaptation remains to be done. Bezzechi's remarkable run of victories and laps led came to an end at Jerez, but the championship leader insists the emotional and competitive pressure remains unchanged. The interruption of his record streak is a moment of recalibration rather than collapse, a test of temperament as the season moves into its most scrutinized phase. Corrado Cecchinelli offered a cautious first read of the 850cc prototypes that have appeared in early tests, stressing that what we've seen so far is preliminary and likely to evolve. With a major regulation reset looming, smaller engines, reduced aero, and the removal of ride height devices, Cecchinelli framed the current machines as development snapshots rather than final solutions, and flagged aerodynamics, packaging, and integrated design as the areas that will shape the transition. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Yamaha entered 2026 believing the V4 conversion would bring them closer to the rest of the grid, but the reality has been more complex. Unexpected technical and development challenges have slowed progress, leaving the team short on performance compared with last year. I have to say that I thought it would be slightly easier. Major architecture changes rarely deliver instant gains. Integration issues with chassis, electronics, and aero often surface only after race mileage accumulates. The scoreboard tells the story. Yamaha has collected far fewer points in the opening rounds than at the same stage last season, and even circuits where they were previously competitive have exposed lingering deficits. Riders and engineers are searching for solutions while trying to keep morale high. Early season points shortfalls are costly in a tight championship. Recovery requires both rapid technical fixes and consistent on-track development. Frustration has spilled into the paddock. Fabio Quartararo's public impatience and his decision to sign for Honda underline the pressure on Yamaha to accelerate progress. At the same time, the factory has already secured Jorge Martin and Ai Ogura for 2027, signaling a longer-term plan to rebuild competitiveness. Rider departures and arrivals are both symptom and strategy. They reflect current pain and future intent. Despite the setbacks, Meregalli emphasized a positive internal atmosphere and a belief that the second half of the season can bring improvements. The team is pushing hard in testing and development, and leadership frames the current phase as the demanding start they expected, only tougher than hoped. The team itself is pushing as always, as much as we can. And the atmosphere, I would say, is good. A constructive team culture is essential during major technical transitions. It preserves focus and accelerates problem solving. Yamaha's route back to the front will require coordinated gains across engine, chassis, electronics, and aero. Short-term fixes may yield incremental improvements, but a full recovery depends on coherent development and effective testing windows. The arrival of new riders for 2027 adds strategic urgency to get the V4 project on track. Mid-season development windows and targeted test programs will determine whether Yamaha can close the gap before the championship's decisive phase. Yamaha's V4 transition is a work in progress. The team underestimated the complexity, and early results reflect that miscalculation. Still, leadership stresses resilience and continued effort rather than panic. If testing and development deliver measurable gains, Yamaha can climb back into contention. If problems persist, the deficit could widen and force a longer rebuild. For now, the story is one of technical humility, sustained effort, and the high stakes of a major platform change in MotoGP. Scoring his first MotoGP point in Texas was a personal milestone for Toprak, but he refused to overstate its significance. 15th place was a reminder that past success does not automatically translate to the premier class. I'm happy to have scored a point, my first in MotoGP, but I'm not happy with 15th place. Early points are morale boosters, yet for a three-time Superbike champion the Rio benchmark is consistent top results, a target that requires time and technical progress. Yamaha's switch to a V4 engine has reshaped the bike's behavior, forcing riders to relearn braking, cornering, and exit dynamics. Toprak emphasized that the package is different for everyone and that the grid currently holds the advantage. This bike is completely different from last year's. Everything is new, even for the Yamaha riders who are already here. Major platform changes create uneven adaptation windows. Riders who adjust fastest gain immediate competitive leverage. Toprak described a split-circuit reality. In some sectors he can match the leaders, while in others the bike's grip and handling leave him unable to compete. That inconsistency defines his current challenge. I only fight them in half the circuit, in the other half, they're completely out of control because the bike works so much better. Identifying sector-specific deficits is the first step toward targeted setup and riding style adjustments. Toprak singled out Ducati and Marc Marquez as benchmarks. Ducati for its package, Marquez for his unique talent and evolved riding style. He also praised Andrea Dovizioso's guidance in the garage, valuing veteran insight as he adapts. Ducati is Ducati, and Marquez is a special rider. He rides more calmly, he's understood how the bike works. Mentorship and data analysis from experienced teammates and coaches accelerate the transition from one championship to another. Beyond technical issues, Toprak highlighted the lifestyle and logistical changes of a full MotoGP calendar: more travel, less time at home, and a different rhythm to life. He acknowledged the emotional and practical adjustments required by the move. This is like a city. In Superbike I was always able to return to Turkey. In MotoGP it's more difficult. Off-track stability influences on-track performance. Managing travel, recovery, and routine is part of becoming a consistent MotoGP contender. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu's rookie MotoGP season is a process of adaptation rather than instant replication of Superbike success. His early points show potential, but the V4 Yamaha's current deficits and the class's depth mean progress will be incremental. With focused data analysis, mentorship from veterans, and time to refine both bike and riding style, Toprak can close the sector gaps that now separate him from the front. For now, his attitude, hungry, pragmatic, and coachable, makes him a rider to watch as the season unfolds. Bezzechi opened 2026 with a sequence of dominant performances that included 3 straight Grand Prix wins and a record 121 consecutive laps led. That run established Aprilia's early authority and put the Italian firmly in the championship spotlight. No, but I prefer to finish first and have everyone ask me, "You've made 20 million in a row." Long winning runs change expectations. When they end, the spotlight intensifies even if the rider's internal pressure does not. Asked whether the snapped streak increased pressure, Bezzechi downplayed any psychological shift. He framed pressure as a constant companion on race day, the same sensations from youth categories to MotoGP, and emphasized that the goal remains to keep performing at a high level. Elite athletes often treat pressure as a stable variable. What changes is how they channel it into preparation and execution. The weekend also highlighted vulnerability. Bezzechi suffered his third sprint crash in 4 rounds, a reminder that even frontrunners can overreach. Yet he still salvaged a strong result on Sunday, finishing second and extending his championship lead to 11 points. That combination of aggression and recovery underlines both risk and resilience. Frequent sprint incidents can signal setup or approach issues. Converting raw speed into consistent race finishes is the hallmark of a title contender. With Jorge Martin close behind in the standings, Aprilia's internal duel adds another layer of pressure. Bezzechi's streak raised the bar for the team, but Martin's consistency ensures the factory's momentum is not dependent on a single rider. The inter-team battle will shape strategic choices as the season progresses. When teammates trade roles as aggressor and stabilizer, the team benefits from both headline results and steady points accumulation. Aprilia's debut of a prototype 850 cubic centimeters bike after her race signals the technical arms race heating up ahead of 2027. Bezzechi must balance pushing for immediate results with contributing to development work that secures long-term advantage. Managing that dual role is a new kind of pressure for a championship leader. Development duties can distract frontrunners, but they also offer the chance to shape the package that will define future seasons. The end of Bezzechi's streak is a narrative pivot rather than a crisis. He remains the championship leader and has shown the ability to rebound from setbacks. The real test will be sustaining pace while minimizing sprint incidents and helping Aprilia evolve its machinery. If he keeps converting speed into consistent race results, the snap streak will be a footnote. If crashes persist or rivals close the gap, the pressure will manifest in tougher strategic choices. For now, Bezzechi's blend of confidence and pragmatism keeps him at the center of the title fight. Cecchinelli warned that the prototypes on display are early-stage experiments, not the finished articles. Teams are still exploring packaging and proportions, so judging legality or final form now would be premature. I personally don't know, but experience would tell me that they're definitely not the final shapes. Prototype appearances often change substantially through testing. Manufacturers use early runs to validate concepts before committing to homologated designs. Although the 2027 rules aim to reduce aerodynamic influence, Cecchinelli made clear that aero will still matter, just in a different, less dominant way. The goal is to limit extreme effects such as dangerous suction under braking while preserving legitimate aero development. Its importance will be reduced. It will remain an important topic, less so than today. The technical director emphasized that bodywork, fairing dimensions, and engine layout are interdependent. Changes to one element ripple through the whole machine, so teams must balance engine architecture with chassis and aerodynamic needs. Everything is so crucial in modern motorcycles that the design is integrated. So yes, the dimensions of the body and fairing also influence the engine layout orientations. Despite the engine downsizing, Cecchinelli does not foresee manufacturers abandoning conventional architectures en masse. While inline fours might be slightly narrower, the overall differences in engine width are not so dramatic as to force radical rethinks of layout. I don't think there's any need to change anything else or consider other architectures just for the differences we're introducing in 2027. Teams will likely refine existing concepts rather than pursue exotic alternatives, focusing on incremental gains within familiar frameworks. With prototypes still in flux, the coming months of testing will determine which ideas survive and which are discarded. Cecchinelli's measured assessment underlines that the visible prototypes are conversation starters, not verdicts. The technical battle will center on how teams translate regulatory limits into stable, competitive packages. Early adopters who convert test mileage into reliable data will gain an advantage. Latecomers risk being forced into catch-up mode. Cecchinelli's first impressions set expectations. The 2027 era will be evolutionary rather than revolutionary in visible form, but the technical implications are deep. Aerodynamics will be constrained but still decisive. Packaging will drive many design choices, and prototypes will change substantially before homologation. The next phase of testing will reveal which concepts are viable. Until then, the prototypes are best read as work in progress rather than final answers. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!